Based on what I've seen so far, it looks like I cropped this properly, so I sure hope it turns out well in the video. Today, we are talking about something a little interesting. So recently, Plarium has been in kind of their rebellious teenager phase where they are listening to player feedback. They are saying, screw you guys, we don't care. This is what we're doing anyways, and these updates seem to be kind of a continuation of that. So let's go ahead. Let's take a look a little bit into the update highlights for the 9.4, which we're going to have kind of coming out here soon, as they say. So I would imagine within the next week or so. First of all, we do have some clan improvements coming. So they're adding 5 new clan levels in update 9.0. So this is going to allow clans to go all the way up to level 25 as opposed to the current level cap being 20. With this, we're obviously getting extra multi-battle attempts per day. There's new clan shop slots opening up as well, so a 13th and a 14th slot. We're still going to have the same number of clan quests, but we do get a little bit of extra silver from campaigns as well, which is actually a substantial amount. 14% more in total is a very, very large bonus. That's an extra 4% more than we currently get. Now, we do have some live arena improvements, and I think this is going to be the controversial one that everybody's talking about. So they mention here that we have some arena-themed advanced quests. So what were those? Those were essentially the quests that are like, hey, beat a live arena, or rather beat a classic arena team with a team power higher than you, beat them with all, 4 different affinities, beat them with a single affinity, all that sort of good stuff. And then we also had some tag team arena themed quests as well. So I don't think those will be replaced. We'll have to see. But essentially, they are changing those requests to one that instead requires winning a live arena battle, which is interesting. So it's not going to require participating in live arena. It's going to require specifically to win that battle. So it will require winning essentially just one, but they are now adding a separate live arena quest for all players with access to live arena. Now, they don't specify if this is going to be a daily quest or how it's going exactly, but it's going to require winning 1, 3, or 5 live arena battles, and it's going to include rewards of 20 multi-battle attempts, 50 energy, and a live arena chest that's going to contain artifacts, charms, silver, and a chance to drop a legendary skill tome once per month. I actually think that this is a fantastic improvement. Sometimes I'll be sitting inside the live arena queue and I'll be sitting there for the full 60 seconds and just not even get anyone to play against. And I am only a gold 3 player myself, right? So there's certainly players above me that are probably having even less matches. And then a lot of times I'll actually be going back to back against the same players regardless of if I win or if I lose. A lot of times I'm going against players that have like 2 or 3 times my player power on their roster as well, which is just absolutely insane. So having more players participating in the live arena is going to hopefully bring those gaps a little bit closer together. Additionally, they're increasing the duration of each live arena activity time frame by an hour and adjusting the matchmaking for newer players to make their start in this PvP mode smoother. So they do say that they're adjusting the matchmaking, but they do say that it's specifically for newer players, so I'm kind of interested to see what exactly they change. Perhaps they're going to take into consideration a little bit more like, how long you played, player power, those sorts of things, but this doesn't say that they're going to actually do anything to revamp the matchmaking for silver and gold players. It's most likely just going to be the bronze live arena. So I'm interested to see how this turns out. Overall, though, I am an absolute fan of the change to this. I do participate in my live arena anyways. I think everybody should, for the area bonuses you get, as well as that's basically the only consistent way to farm your primal shards, so the rewards from it are absolutely worth it, not to mention the fantastic gear sets that you can get as well. Now, continuing on to some more improvements, so they are talking about Siege next, so they're adding some QOL or quality of life changes to make the experience smoother. So if a clan destroys a stronghold or a mana shrine, or if a clan's stronghold or mana shrine remain intact at the end of the battle phase, all clan members who have set at least 1 defense team, won an attack battle, or captured 1 enemy team slot during the current siege will receive rewards of mana orbs. If you have won a siege, then each clan member, again, those same prerequisites, will receive a victory chest. The same conditions apply to receiving milestone rewards, as well as florins for defending a team slot, defeating an enemy team, or capturing an enemy team slot. Now, I'm not the smartest fella in the game, so I can't actually tell you what this means, or more specifically how it's different than what we currently have. So if there's somebody a little bit smarter with the way it currently works, leave me a comment down below kind of explaining that. We will drastically reduce the cost of repairing the stronghold, magic towers, defense towers, and mana shrines. I think this is absolutely fantastic. In my clan, at least, basically every single one of these buildings has kind of just sat there broken since the initial siege where they got broken, and they just have not been repaired since. Attack scroll distribution will be adjusted. Essentially, what this seems to indicate is that now you can upgrade your strongholds and you're not going to get penalized for it, because the way it currently works, excuse me, if you upgrade your stronghold, you're going to have an additional 4 defenses, but then every player on the enemy team is going to get an additional attack to try and take out your stronghold, which means that sure, you're getting extra 4 defenses, but you're getting all the way up to like 30 extra attacks as well coming in from the enemy team. So it's definitely not the best, to say the least. So getting that done will be absolutely fantastic. It'll actually mean that players can upgrade their strongholds, kind of like we're supposed to, right? Like they added the content. And they're also going to change the number of victory medals given to clans for protecting and destroying the stronghold and mana shrines. Defending the stronghold and a shrine will now bring your clan 1,200 and 450 medals respectively. Destroying an enemy stronghold and mana shrine will bring you 1,300 and 550. So this is essentially just going to help to make it a little bit easier to progress through the rewards path, essentially, it seems. Now, we do have some miscellaneous here. So further enhancements to the champion AI and Hydra battles will be implemented. I think that's fantastic. The AI is still pretty shoddy inside Hydra. Of course, I don't think it's fair to ever assume that we'll really get the AI to be at a point where it's, you know, as smart as a player, but I did a manual Hydra key earlier today where I hit about, I think, 90 million or so, you know, on manual, and then I set it on auto, and they had all died within like 10 turns immediately after that, so it was a bit disappointing. Damage and ally attack skills will prioritize the Hydra head currently digesting a champion. I could be mistaken, but I think they had said that before, unless it was not ally attack skills, so maybe ally attack skills weren't prioritizing it. Exposed necks are the next priority, and finally grown Hydra heads are the last target, so that's fantastic. Essentially, AI priority is champions, freeing champions that have been digested, and then your exposed necks, and then finally the Hydra heads that have regrown. Those particular heads you obviously can't do damage to or anything like that, so it's nice having them at the lowest priority. Plarium Points program is enhanced with a new promo code, available exclusively on Plarium Play, warm-up card, and other small improvements. So essentially a promo code that's going to only be active for PC players. My bad if you couldn't really see that all the way at the top there. Searsha the Charred, who is attainable via the program, will be buffed in the current balance patch. You can see the changes in the next section. Now, I was looking through this rewards program, and I thought that they had a lot of work to do. We've had a lot of power creep in the game recently with blessings and everything like that, and even if you've fully maxed out your Plarium Play program, you're essentially only going to have a 4-star awakening for this particular champion, a champion that's not even that good. So it's very disappointing. I think that you should be able to work your way all the way up to a 6-star awakening if you're spending thousands or tens of thousands of dollars on the game. The Demon Lord will refresh between 10 UTC and 11 UTC to reduce server load. This means all clans will receive their clan boss rewards at some point in that time frame, but not necessarily at the same time, which is interesting. Furthermore, players will not be able to participate in clan boss battles for an hour after switching clans. I think that is fantastic. This is a champion rebalance. I'm not going to spend too much time on King Garog. If you want, you can certainly come and look through this as well. For Searsha, they are essentially making her a little bit stronger, so she's going to have a decreased speed, and if they're under an HP burn, she's also going to place a Hex on her A3, which is interesting. Additionally, it does go down by 1 turn on the cooldown, so now it's presumably going to book down to a 3-turn instead of a 5-turn, or a 4-turn rather. She's not really got too much else going on, so her A2 books down to a 3-turn instead of a 4-turn. It is what it is, I guess. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the comments here and see what people have to say as well. So you must add that silver, and anything can be exchanged between players. By the way, it is a good addition. We needed it. I don't think this is good, where if you can exchange stuff between players, because then you're just going to introduce real money transactions outside the game. You're going to have scams, all that sort of good stuff. How many times more do we have to ask why there's no empowerment for Carnage? If there's a reason, at least let us know. Are we asking that much? That is a good point. The reason I think is probably because like 1% of the player base has him at this point, so I don't think that's going to be a high priority. Need more slots for equipment. I'd like to know who the genius is that does not make this decision. You can do it for a fee like the champions. It all goes in your favor. Absolutely right. I think we do need more gear slots as well. And then we quote, Upon reaching level 60, blah blah blah, the Live Arena Battles quest, I will quit over that, no joke. I loathe Live Arena, haven't done it since the first day it went active. I depend on daily and advanced quests for a bunch of the resources that keep me doing fusions and other things I love in this game. Force me to do it to get my energy flask each day at the top of the advanced quest is the easiest way to make me delete my account. What I have to say to that is do it. Do it. I will wait. This particular player seems a little bit upset about having to do Live Arena. That is perfectly fine. It is a part of the game. If you don't want to do it, don't participate in it. It's as simple as that. Essentially, there's a lot of people that don't like Hydra, and every so often there is the daily Hydra key battle as well. The way I see it is if something's being added into the game and you get fantastic resources from it, then personal preference doesn't necessarily play into it, right? Because at the end of the day, it is what it is, right? It's what the developers want to make it. Can you explain more about the Live Arena quest? From your wording, it sounds like you're adding 2, maybe 3 quests. That's exactly what I thought as well. The wording was definitely, excuse me, very confusing. It's no improvement trying to force people into playing a game mode that is hated the most. You made a pay-to-win game with insane prices, and now you want to force people into playing PvP. Really? Ever thought about the reason people want to avoid playing PvP in your game? Maybe because it's broken as hell. That is a bad joke. Now, I'm going to go on a limb here and say that the PvP mode is definitely not broken. It's working exactly the way Plarium intends, because at the end of the day, it favors the player who spends more money on the game. And this is a gacha game. If you expect a fair and balanced experience in a gacha game, you should probably move on. Go play something else, save your sanity a little bit more. Plarium is going to favor the people it keeps the lights on and the servers running. And I mean, that just makes sense even from a business perspective, right? So it kind of is what it is. That being said, though, it is definitely the reason a lot of people don't want to play it. As far as the hated the most, I would surmise that that's probably going to be Hydra still, as opposed to Live Arena, if I were to take a guess. Everything about the Live Arena improvement is terrible, probably. It'll do for now. Do not make advanced quests in the energy pot that is the reward dependent upon Live Arena anything, especially wins. We don't care what rewards will be given because you will be increasing the account power level and time needed necessary to gain that daily energy pot. It is not worth it to us. Now, I kind of get where they're coming from. However, winning that one daily battle is going to mean that you're getting roughly just under 1 primal shard per month on top of your regular daily logins and whatnot. So if you win 1 per day, you need 35 for your chest, and the chest guarantees at least 1, right? So it's definitely worth it for the players. You combine that with a tedious task, essentially, of just going in there and putting 4 champions of a different affinity in the classic arena. Sure, it was easier and quicker, but at the end of the day, I think this is a positive change, in all honesty, and I think it's going to help keep the game alive for a lot longer. You're basically saying, if you're not able to play the game during Live Arena time, kiss your free energy pot goodbye. They are extending the Live Arena, of course, right? And they are saying that it's going to be easier for new players as well. Again, interested to see how that works. And I don't think that's necessarily what's being said. Realistically, the Live Arena section is open tons of times throughout the day. There's definitely going to be a lot of, times to play it, essentially. Further, the Miscellaneous missions that involve Live Arena just became harder since we'll have to waste time in Live Arena more than our accounts warrant. We don't want to face pay to win for advanced quests. Are you trying to irritate us further and make us quit? I don't understand how the Miscellaneous missions would become harder. They're the exact same missions. Nothing's changed. If anything, they're going to be easier because now there's going to be more opponents playing the Live Arena that wouldn't generally play PvP content, which means that for a lot of accounts that are PvP focused, those opponents might be a little bit easier wins. So if anything, it's kind of a win for the player base. All are great. With 1 battle, you can quit 9 of your 10 to get the 1 easy battle. All who quit over this should quit anyways. See ya. He's not exactly wrong. The other quest is extra free rewards. That's perfect. Changing the advanced quest, they're all just kind of replying to the same person there. We're just going to keep scrolling. Sometimes when you try to explain things, it makes no sense at all. I'm super. Regarding the Q and L part of Siege, attack scroll distribution will be adjusted. And then he kind of just asks a question in regards to what they mean exactly. We will have to wait and see, I guess. I don't see how giving clan boss chests randomly in an hour window is a QOL improvement. I didn't really see that as QOL improvement. It's more so just them probably trying to get rid of some servers, in all honesty, or reduce that load on the servers so they can pay less per month. It might be an indicator of Plarium struggling with their earnings, so maybe players are actually starting to not like so much what they've done with the game. Now, Moored Rat has quite an interesting take. I mean, I use all my live tokens every day, mostly because I'm grinding the Great Hall bonuses, but also because I'm a Pavlovian conditioned sheep to complete stuff. But when I do Live Arena, it is also unquestionably the worst part of my day. Now, I played Live Arena quite a bit, and there are certainly times when that's true. For me, it's most notable when my 15 million player account goes against a 30 million power player account, and they have 6-star Awakened Mythicals, and they have +4 empowered Armands, and all sorts of ridiculous champions like that, right? Meanwhile, I'm just sitting there with my 2- and 3-star Awakened champions, kind of feeling bad about my life at the end of the day. So I think the matchmaking plays a big part into that. To some extent, if you're a low spender or a free-to-play player, you're essentially just placed there kind of as cannon fodder for the high-spending players. And that's just realistically what it is. Again, it's a gacha game. That's kind of how it's going to play out. But it is certainly frustrating. And I don't think people like to lose, especially in some sort of competitive ranked mode where you can see your rankings worldwide. But then there's obviously, 10 people that like to win for every person that doesn't like the game mode, right? So that kind of brings us to the end of most of the comments. If you force me to play Live Arena, I'm gone. How far detached from your player base are you? It's definitely a good question. I'd be curious to hear from you guys down below what you think of this particular update and if you'll be partaking or if you're quitting the game or all those sorts of good things. I know that there always seems to be a talk about people just leaving the game if these changes are implemented, but at the end of the day, those same people are commenting on the next update highlights, so they presumably haven't left the game, right? There's, talk to talk, you also got to walk the walk, right? So it'd be interesting to see if some of these players stick to it, and if we have a player base diminish because of this introduction, and then of course if Raid actually rolls back on that, or if Plarium rolls back on that, and gives us a little bit more wiggle room with the quests and whatnot. And all this being said, this is coming at a time when Watcher of Realms just released their update notes that were extremely player-centric and extremely friendly to the player. So if you don't play the game, or if you haven't heard about it, if you're not familiar, it's essentially Raid but tower defense, and the notes they just released are essentially giving less RNG to a lot of champions, so it's more just skill-based as opposed to, random number generator. Additionally, they've lowered the actual mercy counts inside the game, so instead of mercy kicking in at 200 for your regular summons and guaranteeing a legendary at 220, it now kicks in at 180 and guarantees a legendary at 200, and then their ancient summonings, which would be similar to maybe like a primal or something like that inside Raid, their mercy caps have been reduced as well. So overall, players seem to be very, very happy with that update. They're also introducing epic variants of very strong legendary champions inside that game that are very hard to acquire. I would definitely recommend checking it out, especially if you're frustrated or looking for an alternative to Raid. I do a bit of content on both games, so it's going to be very self-serving either way. As always, though, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.